The Girl Who Hated Books. Girl Who Hated Books by Manisha Pawagi, illustrated by Leanne, Franson. Once there was a girl named Mina. If you looked up her name in a book, you would find it means fish in ancient Sanskrit. But Mina didn't know that because she never looked up anything anywhere. She hated to read and she hated books. They were always in the way. And this was true because in her house books were everywhere, not just on bookshelves and bedside tables where books usually are, but they were in all sorts of places where books usually aren't. There were books in dressers and drawers and desks, in closets and cupboards and chests. There were books on the sofa and books on the stairs, books crammed in the fireplace and stacked on chairs. Worse still, her parents were always bringing home more books. They kept buying books and borrowing books and ordering books from catalogs. They read at breakfast and lunch and dinner. But when they asked Mina if she wanted to read, she would stamp her feet and shout, "I hate books." And when they tried to read out loud to her, she would put her hands over her ears and shout even louder, "I hate books." There was probably only one person in the world who hated books more than Mina, and that was her cat Max. A long time ago, when he was just a kitten, an atlas fell on his tail, and it bent the tip of it up like a pipe cleaner. Ever since, he tried to stay on top of the books rather than below them. One morning, after Mina moved all the books out of the sink to brush her teeth, she went to the kitchen to get breakfast for herself and Max. First, she climbed onto a stack of encyclopedias so that she could reach the cereal. Then she opened the fridge and moved a pile of magazines to get the milk. She poured some for herself and some for Max. "Max," she called, "breakfast is ready." But Max didn't come. She tried again. "Max," she called, "breakfast is ready." He still didn't come. Where could he be, she wondered. And she looked in the bathtub and behind the dryer. She looked under the stairs and on top of the clock. She found more books, but she didn't find Max. Suddenly, she heard a loud meow. She ran into the dining room, and there he was, stuck on top of the tallest stack of books. It was made up of all the books her parents kept buying and she refused to read, and at the bottom was a big shiny picture book from when she was a baby. In the middle were alphabet books and nursery rhymes, and at the top, right at the ceiling, were fairy tales and adventure stories, and they were all covered in dust. "Don't worry, Max," Mina called up to him. "I'll rescue you." She started to climb the pile of books. At first it was easy because the picture books had hard covers, and she felt as if she was just climbing the stairs. But when she reached the paperbacks, her foot started to slip on a book of poetry, and she lost her balance and she started to slide. Crash! Books went flying. They fell every which way. The bindings cracked open for the very first time, and the pages were flipping apart, and as they fell, strange things began to happen. People and animals started falling out of the pages and tumbling to the ground. They dropped one on top of the other, scattering the books and toppling the chairs. There were princesses and princesses and fairies and frogs, and then a wolf and 3 pigs and a troll on a log. Humpty Dumpty went flying and then broke in half, and Mother Goose and a purple giraffe. There were elephants and emperors and emus and elves and an assortment of monkeys all tangled up in themselves. But most of all, there were rabbits falling this way and that, wild rabbits and white rabbits and rabbits with hats. Mina sat in the middle of it all, too surprised to move. "I thought books were full of words, not rabbits," she said as 6 more came rolling out of a book beside her. But now she couldn't recognize the dining room at all. The elephants were balancing off the coffee table, juggling the good china plates. The monkeys had torn down the curtains and they were using them as capes, and the rabbits were nibbling on the table legs. "Stop!" Mina cried. "Go back!" But there was so much barking and grunting and thumping and going on that no one heard her speak. She grabbed the nearest rabbit and tried to stuff him into a cookbook, but that scared him so much that he wriggled out of Mina's grasp and ran away. She opened up another book and 4 ducks flew out. She slammed it shut again. "Oh, this won't work," said Mina. "I don't know who goes in which book." She thought for a minute. "I know," she said. "I'll go to everyone and ask them where they belong." She started with one strange creature she didn't recognize at all. "Who are you?" she asked. "A is for aardvark," the animal said angrily, and stomped off in search of her alphabet book. She found a wolf sobbing under the dining room table and asked him where he belonged. "I can't remember if I'm from Little Red Riding Hood or the 3 Little Pigs," he wailed and blew his nose on the tablecloth. But Mina couldn't help him because she had never read either story. Then she had another idea. She picked up the nearest book and began to read aloud. "Once upon a time," Mina began, "in a land far, far away." Slowly the creatures stopped jumping and howling and gibbering and chattering. They crept closer and closer to hear what happened next. Soon they were all sitting in a circle around her, listening to her read. When Mina reached the top of the 2nd page, the pigs began to circle and jump up. That's us, they cried. "That's our page, that's our book." They leapt up out of the circle and dove into her lap and disappeared into the book. Mina clapped it shut before they could pop out again. She grabbed another story. One by one, she began reading all her books, and one by one, the creatures found out where they belonged. At last, there was just one little rabbit in a little blue coat left in the room. Mina slowly picked up the book. It was the tale of Peter Rabbit. "Maybe I could keep this rabbit with me," she thought. She was beginning to feel lonely now that everyone else had gone. But the little rabbit stood in front of her, shifting nervously from foot to foot and twitching his funny nose. He was anxious to get back home, so with a big sigh, Mina opened the last book. The rabbit hopped in, and with a flash of his white cotton tail, he was gone. The house was quiet. Max sat on some books, washing his face. Mina sighed. "I'll never see those rabbits again," she said. Then she noticed that the books were still there, lying all around her, and she started to smile. When her parents came home in the afternoon, they could not believe their eyes. Not because the curtains were gone and the dishes were broken and the table legs were chewed up, but because there, sitting in the middle of the room, was Mina, and she was reading a book.